Hi guys, Greg Verdio from the High Altitude Training Institute, and I know it's been a while since you guys have seen me on video, and the reason is I've been having some issues and I've been trying to figure out what was going on with my body, and I think I finally figured it out. So I want to make a video and explain to you what I've been going through and going on a no-wheat diet. And before I go into more details, I want to say that I'm not a doctor, I'm not a dietitian by any mean, and this is just my experience. And I'm not doing this video to convince you to eat no wheat, because it's not really a fun thing to do. It requires a lot more planning on my part. I wish I didn't have to do this, but unfortunately there are several things that have happened that make me realize that I do need to do this. I've got 4 points that explain what happened to my body when I went on a no-wheat diet. Now this whole story started in January. I took a couple of weeks off from the Christmas break because I was getting worn out and my body needed it. And when I came back, I found that I had some major issues getting back on track. Getting back on track with speed, but also getting back on track with just motivation in general. I run about 6 to 7 days a week in general and log 40 to 50 to maybe sometimes 60 miles a week. Starting in January and February, I really could only get about 4 miles a week in and about 30 some miles a week without major issues. So I knew something was going on, and there were really 4 things that I learned from this. The first point is the bloating and the belly fat. This was very obvious to me over the last 3 months, and it didn't take really long, I think, to show up, but I think to a certain extent I've been intolerant to wheat for quite a while now, just didn't really realize it. And so the first one was my belly. I had gained what felt like a lot of weight, but mostly around the belly and around my chest, and a little bit around my neck as well. And it was weird because I never felt like I was gaining weight. I was going on the scale and pretty much weighing the same amount, plus or minus 1 pound. Now I knew something was going on there, and I thought that maybe it was the fact that I was still eating lactose. And I'm lactose intolerant. Usually my stomach doesn't really enjoy it. I can live with it, and I like cheese a lot, so I've continued eating cheese. So maybe I thought this is it, so maybe I should get rid of the cheese. Now it turns out it wasn't the cheese, and so that wasn't good. So as soon as I stopped eating wheat, after about 3 days, it was really obvious. I lost about 3 inches of belly girth, and that's a lot. I'm a size 28 or 30 with pants, and if you can imagine basically losing 10% of your girth just because of cutting wheat, that was a major change. The second one was a really big one, and the second one was my energy level. My energy level got down to nothing. I usually run 6 or 7 days a week. I try to put in about 40, 50 miles a week, sometimes even more when I'm in heavy training. And what it came down to is I could barely put 30, 35 miles, and when I put 40, it felt like a superhuman level of energy was dispensed. And I would come home, I was tired. I've never been a person that takes naps, and all of a sudden I wanted to take naps all the time. So I knew something was wrong. Also, I was hungry all the time, which is kind of normal when you run a lot, but the problem is I was hungry all the time and not running and not really getting any kind of energy. So not a good thing, again, adding to the list. It was hard for me to concentrate during the day. I would start a task and then get sidetracked and immediately go to something else, which unfortunately is one of the symptoms of wheat intolerance. And then I had some issues with my blood oxygenation, and so I have this little device, blood oximeter, that you put on your finger, and it calculates the percentage of oxygen in your blood. I was getting down to 92%, which is fairly low, even though I live at high altitude. Fast forward a couple weeks, and my blood oxygenation is back to normal. No more wheat. I have all the energy in the world. I used to not be able to complete some of the workouts. I have this workout that I tried to do, which was mile repeats. And before taking a break for Christmas, I was at about 5:52 pace. and all of a sudden I could barely hit 6:08 pace after taking 3 weeks off. Now that's too much of a loss of fitness. There's no way that this was related to just having taken a few weeks off. And fast forward a couple weeks, no wheat, and all of a sudden I can hit 6-minute pace, and then now I'm back to actually 5:52 pace. I went out last week and did a track workout. I did 3 miles, 3-mile repeat at 5:52 pace. 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, I couldn't even do 6:08 pace for half a mile and just had to stop the workout. My mileage is finally back up to where it should be, except now it took me 3 months to get to that point, which is not a good thing. The third thing that I noticed with my body was the poor recovery. I would go on an easy run, I would come back, wake up the next day, I had compression pants on, I had compression calves, I would do a foot massage, I would roll, and I would stretch and still wake up in the morning after an easy run, 5 or 6 miles, and I was sore. My legs were hurting, my feet were hurting, everything was just not feeling normal. I thought that maybe I hit the point where age was catching up to me, and maybe that's how I was going to be, and I just needed to do more stretching. So I did more stretching, nothing really changed except I was in a lot of pain. I don't like stretching. So fast forward about 3 weeks, and now I don't need compression anymore. I went and did that track workout at 5:52 pace and came back, and all of a sudden I don't really need to wear my compression. I actually forgot to put them on, woke up in the morning, my feet were okay, my calves were okay, no soreness, which I quite frankly never in my life I have felt this good after this kind of workout. This is one of the toughest workouts in my training plan. And finally, the fourth point that I want to discuss was my mood. I was just not in a good mood ever. As soon as I stopped eating the wheat, sure enough, felt a lot better, a lot more confidence, because I was finally hitting my track workouts, I think, and finally able to increase my mileage. So I think that affected my mood a little bit. I talked to my wife about it, and she said, well, let's try to remove things. Let's try to find if we are allergic to something. So let's remove certain things from our diet. And the first thing we did is we removed the dairy completely. So I stopped eating cheese. I stopped eating, well, cheese was mainly the main thing I was eating. I've been eating almond milk for a long time. And nothing really changed. And at the same time, I was talking to a friend who said, well, you may want to think about wheat. And for a while, I had been thinking that maybe whole wheat was my problem. So I wasn't eating whole wheat. So we went wheat-free, got some gluten-free, pretty much everything. You know, some people ask the difference between gluten and wheat. There is gluten in wheat. There is not necessarily wheat in all the gluten, so you can still have some gluten. But so I went gluten-free, kind of, tried to get rid of everything that I could, and lo and behold, all of a sudden, felt a ton better. It took me about 3 days. In 3 days, I saw some major changes. I made a mistake. I'm about 4 weeks in now. I made a mistake about 2 weeks ago, and I went to a restaurant, and a friend of mine said, hey, do you want to share a sandwich? So I, without even thinking, I ate half a sandwich, and it was a whole wheat bread. And the next day, back again to bloated, to feeling tired, to not wanting to do anything, and just wanting to take a nap, and immediately it hits me. I can feel it. But it is a change. I have to be careful if I go to the restaurant. I did make a mistake one time, and I paid for it. And so now I have to be conscious of this. I have to read every label, which is actually a good thing. It kind of made me more conscious about what I put in my body. But again, this is not really a plea for you to make a change in your diet. I believe that this worked for me, but it may work for you, but it may not make any difference. So I just wanted to share this information with you. Now, I'm really excited because this opens up new opportunities for me. I have a race coming up in a few weeks, which unfortunately I've just wasted 3 months of my life trying to figure this out. So I'm way behind on training. I'm not sure how that race is going to go, but it's no longer an A race. It became a B race, so I'm not going to focus on that too much. But I have a race in June that I'm going to be spending quite a bit of time training for, and that's a marathon. and you'll see more of my training. I'm going to try to do a little series here every week, giving you an update on how everything goes, and maybe give you a few tips if you guys are interested on what I'm actually eating that's wheat-free and how I'm surviving without eating pizza and pasta all the time, although you can eat that with wheat-free pizza dough and wheat-free pasta. And yes, beer is okay. I don't drink wheat beer, so I can actually drink beer. And yes, chocolate is okay as well, which is the only way I can survive in this world is by eating chocolate and drinking beer. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Thanks for following. I apologize for the long delay in getting this video out, but I really wanted to find out what was going on. So like and subscribe if you haven't done so yet, and there will be more videos very soon. Thanks, guys.